I'm Jim Anderson, partner in GoalBusters Consulting. I'm here today with Alice Ferris, the founder of GoalBusters, and we want to help you redesign or touch up your content when you need to deliver it online as opposed to doing so in person. So, assuming that you understand your audience and what it is that they want to learn during the session you're going to provide, you need to think about some potential changes to your content because you might not be able to deliver this information remotely online as you would normally do in person.
So before we get into the specifics of how to convert your content to an online environment, let's just review some adult learning principles. Because in general, the people you're going to be talking to are grown-ups. And really what adults want when they come to trainings is they want to learn practical skills that will solve a problem for them. Because if they don't have a problem that they're thinking about, they're probably not coming to your session to try to figure out how to solve it. And they're definitely not coming to your session just because they have all the time in the world. That's what they want to do. Have something practical at the end of your session. So the other thing about adult learners, however, is that they're bringing past knowledge with them. And so in many respects, they're going to be comparing your new information to the information they already have. And so if it doesn't quite jibe with what they have in their head, then you're going to have to prove it to them that this is a better idea. The third thing is you're going to have a limited amount of time, especially in times when there's so many different webinars and training sessions online that people could choose from. They're going to want to make sure that you're going to give them valuable information in a short amount of time. They don't want to waste their time. So make sure that you can do it in a limited amount of time and that you can engage people during that time. And once again, people have a ton of choices, so give them the right choice. Give them a practical and compact session that they can learn something from.
Well, I think the first thing that we should talk about are some don'ts, things you don't want to do. One that is probably driving you crazy already because other people are doing it are those presenters who are saying, if we were here in person, here's what we would do. Okay, that's like saying, if I had wings, I'd fly. If I had wings, that's like those presenters who show you a slide on the screen and they say, I know you can't read this, but up here it says, dude, why even put it up there if you know I can't read it? And why tell people what they're missing out on? Because you're immediately reminding them that, you know, what I'm experiencing right now is not as good as it could be. So I think I'm going to go watch cat videos.
Well, and related to that, don't have large sections of your content that are reliant on participant feedback. You remember that scene from Ferris Bueller's Day Off where it's just Bueller? Because you're going to have a delay. Basically, it doesn't matter what platform you're on, how much bandwidth you have. You are not necessarily getting your comments in real time. So if you're reliant on participant feedback, you're not necessarily going to be able to do that, and you're going to end up with some really awkward delays. The other thing about that is that guess what? People aren't paying 100% attention to your webinar. In fact, you're probably not paying attention right now. You're multitasking, right? And so if you're reliant on, oh, wait, did that person just ask me to do something? Then they're not going to do it right away. So don't have large sections that are reliant on people responding.
Also, don't be like Jim Anderson, okay? That's generally a good rule for life, okay? Don't be like Jim Anderson. But what I mean in this particular instance is don't try to do all the fancy stuff that you do when you're in person.
Uh-huh.
You know, when we present, I know, we are presenting this to you so that maybe I can learn, okay? Because we have great presentations that we do, and we use Prezi, and things are flying around, and stuff builds, and it's all creative, and there's videos playing and sound effects, and it's all gonna fail because it doesn't matter what internet connection that you have, odds are you are not gonna have the bandwidth to pull all of that stuff off in real time. Your system's gonna bog, it's going to slow things down. You have to go back old school. Don't use all the bells and whistles. Don't use the polls. If you're going to build something that you really want to look like that, record it in advance and deliver it as a video later. That's what we're doing now. Try to keep it as simple as possible. Eliminate transitions and things like that. Just make it slide, slide, slide if you're going to deliver that nature of content.
And one final don't is don't try to create a multi-hour workshop. 3-hour workshop, no. 2-hour workshop, no. 75 minutes, that's probably even a no. Really, you're looking at roughly an hour at the longest. And in fact, GoToMeeting did a study recently that basically showed that we can hold people's attention for 57 minutes. Aim for 57 minutes or shorter, because no one should really sit in front of a computer all that long. So shorter is always better when it comes to online content.
Let's look at some of the do's. What are some of the things that you should be doing or maybe doing a little differently? One of them is to treat these online educational sessions as though they are a lecture with some brief exercises, but not exercises that require a partner. A lot of people are going to be participating in these and viewing these at their own time, at their own schedule, and frequently alone. No, we're not alone. We're apart but together. Yeah, we know that. But in reality, if you want somebody to do an exercise, you need to understand that a lot of people are going to do it in a solitary environment. Think about this as a lecture with some exercises that you can have people do, but they don't have to be done that minute. You don't need immediate feedback, and they can do them by themselves.
And when you think about the overall structure of your content, you want to break up longer webinars into shorter, more digestible modules. So even if you do it as 1 hour long webinar, you will have 10-minute chunks or maybe at most 15-minute chunks built in throughout the session. This gives your audience an opportunity to kind of think about, oh, wait, I got something useful out of this. Maybe I'll stick around for the next module. And the other thing is, be obvious about it. Give your audience cues when you're moving on to a new module, whether that's a visual cue or just saying that. So that's the first section of this presentation. We're now going to move on to the second. Go ahead and give people that opportunity to know that, oh, wait, we're making progress and we're moving along in the content.
It's also hugely important to make this as practical as possible. People are busy. They got a lot of demands on their time. We've talked about all the different opportunities that they have for learning. If you give them a practical tool or a tip, something that they can implement right away in each section that you're presenting, then they're going to get real value from what it is that you're sharing, which means they will elevate your position as they're evaluating how they spend their time. So try to make it as practical as possible. If you're going to do a short presentation, make sure you've got 2, 3, 4, 5 practical things that people can put to work right away.
And back to something that Jim mentioned earlier, keep your slides simple. That's your do. So no moving animations, no complicated audio, just keep it as simple as possible. And since Jim already talked about, I'm just going to hand that back over to you.
Well, I guess another important thing to do as well, turn on your camera, please. Understand your technology. Make sure your camera's working. Make sure your mic is working. I'm not telling you to log in an hour in advance and sit around while everybody shows up, and they're going to show up late. Just make sure that you do have your tech working. Make sure the camera's on. Make sure the mic's on, because when people do tune in, they kind of want to know that the teacher is there. They've made it to the classroom.
The other thing that's related to the technology is give yourself a 5-minute buffer at the beginning and end of the webinar. And that's not just because people are going to come into your session late and leave early. It's because if you are doing the webinar live, it's going to take a while for the technology that you're using to buffer and to essentially equalize based on the number of users that you have on. Particularly if you're using a platform that is designed as a webinar, they're going to do a load equalization when people start coming into your session. So you need to give people about 5 minutes to come in before your platform really understands how many people they need to handle. So give yourself that 5-minute buffer at the beginning and a 5-minute buffer at the end, because you want to give people the opportunity to come in and let the technology figure out how many people are there. And related to that, because it's a bandwidth issue, throw everyone off the internet. If you are doing a live webinar and you want to make sure that you have as much bandwidth as possible, every person in your house needs to know that you're doing it, or in your office once we get back to offices.
Everybody out of the pool. Out of the pool.
Out of the internet pool. Just check them out. And the other thing is, if you have, and I know you do, multiple devices that connect to your Wi-Fi, put them in airplane mode or disconnect them from your Wi-Fi, because that's another thing that's going to suck up your bandwidth. So just a few additional special considerations for delivering your content in a virtual environment. As Jim mentioned earlier and alluded to, if you can, consider pre-recording your video, pre-recording your content in small chunks and delivering those as videos. You can still be there live and you can still answer people's questions through the chat, but the nice thing about this is that it gives you one less piece of tech that can fail. If you have the content already pre-recorded, that's a great opportunity for you to just present it and then kick back and answer the questions. The other thing is, you can provide the slides, and I think you should provide the slides. Jim and I typically don't provide the slides if we are in a live situation, but in a webinar situation, when we know we don't have 100% or even 75% or even 50% attention, we want to be able to give people those reminders. But I also wouldn't necessarily say that you have to give them in advance. You can give them afterwards as a reminder. And the final thing that I want to add as a special consideration is provide a worksheet. You know, maybe you don't provide the slides, or maybe you do provide the slides, but the more useful thing for someone is to have a worksheet that kind of outlines what your key takeaways were. So that's an opportunity for you to keep your webinar practical by giving them that takeaway.
We are doing online content delivery. This is just another environment. Look at what the strengths are of that environment. Look at what the opportunities are, and clearly recognize what the limitations are. Keep it simple. You know, you've heard the old thing, KISS, keep it simple, stupid. Okay, you're not stupid, but you should still keep it simple, okay? Because everything that you would normally want to do with audio enhancement and animations and video, they give you the potential for failure. Would you rather deliver a clean message without any of those problems? Or would you rather do something really, really cool that didn't work and you got to fix it later? Because I've had to do that, and it took 8 hours to fix one of my presentations that if I just would have kept it simple, I would have been done when we said goodbye during that presentation. And keep it practical. People are busy. You want to give them something that they can use. You want to give them something that they can apply right away, because if you do, they will remember that and they'll tune in again. And we hope we've done that for you today. Hopefully you'll tune in again. Check out one of our other videos. It's easy enough to find. You'll find links to this series of videos and others at GoalBusters.net. Obviously, you can find us on all social network platforms. Just search GoalBusters. Thank you. When we think about the bottom line, Josh, damn you. I might leave that in.
Blame Josh.
Hashtag blame Josh.